All right, today we're going to look at the problem in the triangle JKL. The cosine of K equals 24 over 51, and angle J is a right angle. What is the value of cosine L? So whenever we're given a description of a triangle, it really helps to draw the triangle. So we know one of the angles is a right angle. So I'm just going to draw a generic right triangle. The next fact we're told is that angle J is the right angle. So I'm gonna label this J. And we know that the cosine of K, so I just gotta pick a side to be K. I'm not sure, this is not drawn to scale obviously, so I'm just gonna let this be K and this be L. So cosine of K is 24 over 51. So the first thing I'm gonna think about is that when I think about SOHCAHTOA, which is a mnemonic that helps us remember sine, cosine, tangent, and its values, I write that out. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, tangent is opposite over adjacent. So I'm going to use this fact along with this fact to try and fill in parts of my triangle. So we're at K, and we know cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is going to be touching K. And we know hypotenuse is obviously the long side across from our right angle. So I'm going to label our hypotenuse 51 and this adjacent piece 24. Now we're being asked to find the cosine of L. So that means for this value L, I need to know this length. I don't know this length yet, so I'm going to call it X for now. And before I can jump into cosine, I want to find this. Now I notice I have a right triangle. There's lots of different rules that are helpful when thinking about right triangles, but the most valuable is the Pythagorean theorem, especially when we're given those side lengths. So we know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we take our first side, 24, and square it, plus our other side length, x, and square it, it should equal 51 squared, our hypotenuse. So I put 24 squared, I figured that out, and it's 576 plus x squared should equal 51 squared, which is the same as 2,601. So I'm gonna slowly work through solving this. I'm gonna subtract 576 on both sides, and then I will get the x squared equals 2,025. I know that the inverse of squared is square root, so I'm gonna square root both sides. And I'm only really worried about the positive answer, so I'm going to use x equals 45. So that means this side length is 45. So now that I have that, I can start to think about my cosine. So again, cosine will always be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Now the adjacent changes depending on which angle we're considering. So if we're thinking cosine of L, I'm going to go to my L corner, that angle L, and the side that is touching it is the adjacent for L, so that's 45, over the hypotenuse, which is 51. So I can leave it like this. I could turn it into a decimal. I can also reduce it. I know that 45 and 51 are both divisible by 3. So I could reduce by 3 from the numerator to denominator, and that would be 15 over 17. And that's probably how I'd feel most comfortable leaving it. If you have a math question or another homework problem you'd like me to go over, add it in the comments.